It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. And that's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
With Ease US, make studio quality voiceovers for your videos online in over 149 languages and dialects. Never been easier to create professional grade videos and voiceovers. Try it today at easeus.com. That's EASEUS.com. Ease US.
Hi, I'm Mitch, the co-founder of Cake, a sexual health and wellness company designed for today and designed for you. Yes, you. The entire product line can be found at hellocake.com, and it's also available in every Walmart near you.
Send money abroad in just a few steps with Remitly. Sign up with your email, enter an amount, choose how your loved ones receive the money, enter your recipient's information, select a payment method, hit send, and relax. Download the Remitly app today.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated. Each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Looking for tickets to the hottest shows, games, and events? Ticket Liquidator is your one-stop shop for great prices, no hassles, and guaranteed tickets. Whether it's sports, theater, or concert, for the best seats at the biggest events, start with Ticket Liquidator today at ticketliquidator.com. Ticket Liquidator. The You Like Air 3, launched in 2023, ushers in a new era of sapphire ice cooling technology, offering nearly painless hair reduction in just 3 weeks. That's ULIKE.com. You Like.
Well, you know, it's the Pete Sousa Show. We are presented by Slovakics. It is a Tuesday, which is January 6th, 6th day of January. Cam Stuart back in Beantown, holding it down. That has become a new nerve center of the Pete Sousa Show. Cam, of course, joining us in relief of Scotty Swingler. And boy, he came out of the bullpen yesterday, El Duque style, right? He doesn't like hearing that as a Boston guy, but great to have Cam. I actually spoke yesterday with Chris Visser about having Cam as our producer. And while we miss Scotty, you know, but you have to move on, right? And a guy like Cam, when I was searching for a couple of names, he was right there. That's a big deal. I mean, that is to be able to pop in, paying attention like that. That was a great start for Cam. As I could be fighting early onset, who knows? My father battled it until he lost that battle with Father Time. Who knows what I have, but Cam is always there in a pinch. And so is Daniel Stark Injury Lawyers. You've got to get in touch with them if I don't want to say it. Let's say traffic accidents were to befall you. That's a great place to go. Daniel Stark Injury Lawyers has your back. Socorro Family Ford, they also, in the car business, a great place to get a new whip. I am in the middle of dealing with both right now, which you can't make this stuff up, after an 18-wheeler careened into my car on December 4th of 2025. But we move on to another train wreck, or car wreck, I should say, which is the Dallas Cowboys. And let's call it the Dallas Cowboys defense. First things first, we're a part of a team here at the Rogue Media Network. And usually teammates will answer the phone or respond to a message. But my teammate, Matt Mosley, playing left tackle for me today, as I drop back to pass and get ready to talk about this breaking news story, Matt, my left tackle didn't show up. And I just got like one of those bone-chilling, like crunch course hits, like Howie Long used to dish out, in the quarterback, like that. That's what I got from Mosley this morning. I got no call back or no text. So that was actually pretty cool because it gave me an opportunity to dig a little further into this Eberflus story, getting let go by the Cowboys, because I wanted to talk about this. It's a huge story, in my opinion. Matt Eberflus was a very successful defensive mind. First of all, he kicked ass as a coach at Missouri in college, right? Ascends to the pro ranks. Last year as a head coach with the Bears, it was clear that he was over his skis. This year, he becomes one of the highest paid defensive coordinators in all of football at $4 million a year, it was reported. He was hired, remember now, he was hired before Brian Schottenheimer was hired, and he was hired by Jerry Jones. So you feel like that's job security, right? Well, when you put together one of the worst seasons in NFL history as far as a defense is concerned, somebody's got to be accountable for that. And Quinnen Williams said and I don't even know if it was in defense of Matt Eberflus yesterday, but the Cowboys defensive tackle who was acquired from the Jets at the trade deadline said, hey, and he's got limited experience working with Matt Eberflus as opposed to some of the other members of the team. Now nobody's working with the guy on the team. But he said, hey, and he said it to Ed Werder, but I'll paraphrase. A cover two is a cover two. A cover three is a cover three. Man-to-man is man-to-man. At some point in time, you got to line up and you got to make plays. Now, it would appear that the Cowboys just don't have the horses on defense to make plays. There's probably a whole lot of stuff that is going on behind the scenes that I don't know about the Cowboys, right? Because I don't cover the team every day. Thanks, Mosley. But I can tell you from 30,000 feet, it's about Jimmys and Joes, and especially in the NFL. Gone are the days where you're not going to have a Buddy Ryan come in or a Bill Belichick come in and say, hey, we're implementing the 46 defense, right? Like we're going to create a defense in the case of Buddy Ryan or Bill Belichick, like the 3-4 is going to be my baby, right? And that's what we're going to do to win Super Bowl after Super Bowl after Super Bowl. And we've ascended to a time in sports, really, where athletes are so good that they make coaches look better than ever. They also make them look worse than ever. And if you want to get back in the time machine and remember when the Cowboys achieved great success, and great might be pushing it, but Dan Quinn is the defensive coordinator for the Cowboys for 3 years, okay? All 3 years. All three, they go 12-5. Obviously, there was an embarrassment home playoff loss in January of 2024. And, it's not like Dan Quinn was fired. He got the job as the Redskins head coach. So that's beyond Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones. But when he took over that job, when Dan Quinn did, he had a couple things going for him. One, the Cowboys had a ton of draft picks early on, okay, in his first year. They also gave him some juice. Like, he had a real voice. This is according to all reports, especially that were around that first draft that Quinn was a part of. So he's got juice, he's got draft picks, and wouldn't you know it, ultimately, he's got a defense that leads the NFL in takeaways 3 years straight. And in points against, they were 7th, 5th, and 5th. And the reason all that is so very important is because their defense this year was historically bad. Opposing quarterbacks had a quarterback rating of 108. Like, I don't need to lean on Steve Sable or, the folks at Elias Sports Bureau to tell me that that's the worst in Cowboys history. And it's probably among the worst in NFL history. So it was a historically bad defensive situation. I do understand that you need to clean house in a way, but if you don't get the guys, you're just not going to have success defensively. And it was clear remember, the Mike Nolan defense and the defense 2 years ago sucked. The Cowboys were a tough watch 2 years ago. This year they weren't such a tough watch because the offense got better, but the defense stayed the same. And you let your best defensive player, Micah Parsons, you kind of kick him out of town, you push him out of town, but in doing so, you open yourself up, and not like Jerry Jones cares, he actually likes it, but you open yourself up to great criticism, and then you make a couple moves at the deadlines. The one guy they got from the Bengals, I think it was Wilson, they couldn't get him on the field, dude, like down the stretch. He was supposed to be great in coverage. He was not. I remember there were games where he would start the first half and then somebody else would start the second half. There was no amount of adjustments at halftime that Matt Eberflus could make to enable the Cowboys defense to compete really at all this year. I heard from somebody too, a guy who I work with at ESPN a bunch of games, and he's was a defensive coordinator at a big time college football program, and he knows Eberflus pretty well. And he was like, the one thing he told me is he was shocked that this happened because Eberflus was Jerry Jones' guy, right? So that is a mind or a look inside the minds of the Dallas Cowboys front office. And if you're going to give the Cowboys kudos, it is because they just ripped the Band-Aid off. There was no typical Cowboys evaluation period. There's obviously an awareness of, okay, this is an opportunity for us to go out and get a coordinator now while the market is somewhat fresh. The season just ended yesterday. You also have a couple of big defensive coordinators who are out there. Raheem Morris is a guy they might target. I got a couple others I put down here. I think you can talk about Morris. You also have Jeff Ulbrich, the Falcons defensive coordinator, former Falcons defensive coordinator, who was let go with Raheem Morris. John Gannon, I don't know enough about him, Jonathan Gannon, but he's a guy people have talked about. And Brian Flores is a guy whose contract has expired or is expiring with the Minnesota Vikings. And Diana Rossini reported earlier in the day that is a potential pickup for the Cowboys. Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones, they are not the coaches almost ever to go ahead and find the next hot and up-and-coming coach. That's not in their DNA. That's not what the Cowboys do. I have heard some radio personalities and Cowboys folks who cover the team. I was listening to The Ticket this morning, and I love living in Dallas now a good part of the time. I'll drive around. It's elite sports talk radio. The Ticket here in the DFW area is, and I'm from Philadelphia, where that is bonehead sports radio. That is, hey, let's stir it up. Let's get some calls going. you know, like, and then you get guys calling in like, yo, did you see Jalen Hurts that throw on 3rd and 11 when he threw into thirds of the field? Like that was garbage. Like, and it's like, okay, Jalen Hurts just want to like, you know, they want to bench Jalen Hurts. Guys in Philly do. They're out of their minds. And the talk radio there sucks. You get dumber listening to it. That is not the case here in Dallas Fort Worth. And I'm just being honest. Now, if somebody were to ask me if I said this, a Philadelphia media personality, like face-to-face, I may deny it. And then if they showed this clip, I would probably say, yes, I said that. But I'm not one much for confrontation, but that's the truth. But they were talking this morning how the Cowboys need to go out and just pay a ton of money to a big-name defensive coordinator. Well, dude, like, Eberflus was making $4 million. That was among the best defensive coordinators or the highest paid defensive coordinators in the NFL. And by the way, when he was hired, let's not pretend like we weren't. It's funny how stuff works out when you get a minute to look back, right? With the clear perspective now. When Eberflus was hired, that was the move, right? Eberflus was like, oh, this is perfect. Matt Eberflus, like, he wasn't a good head coach with the Bears. That's fine. A lot of defensive coordinators, that's not their deal, right? Like they're just gritty defensive coordinators. Let him be the DC. Well, everybody was excited about that. Defense was worse in the history of the organization. He gets fired. Nobody was excited about Schottenheimer. You couldn't piss on the guy if he was on fire, or at least you wouldn't find any of that from the Cowboys fan base when he got hired. That actually has turned out to be a pleasant surprise. So here we are. And again, this is why this is so fun to do this stuff. And it's the cliche deal, like fanatic, blah, blah, blah. But in truth, we have no clue, you know, what's going to happen. We're the worst predictors of the futures as fans. Now, when you have insight, I like to think I do. When you have relationships, I think I like to think I do. When you're, you know, a lot of the times I have information strictly because I have access to things that other people don't have. You know, I'm lucky enough where I get to go on the road, call basketball and football games with people who, you know, just I'll work a game with Chad Brown. Chad's been on the show. Chad went to 3 Pro Bowls. You know, he knows so much about what's going on, the inner workings of the NFL, past and present. Chris Spatola, you know, coached at Duke for Coach K. I worked with him yesterday. There's so much that guy has forgotten about college basketball that I have to remind him and share with me so I can learn when I'm around dudes like that. So I like to think I have a decent perspective as to what's going on, but I do know, I'm very sure that I don't know Jack, you know what. It's really about what I can glean from other folks. That's why I love having the show. I do have opinions, and I got an opinion on, God, this is something that this is like a personal, a home thing that's going on over here. Okay. We have got my dog, Sadie, who, you know, when I got sober in 2011. You want to talk about living a Spartan lifestyle, right? I live at a halfway house. I've shared this with you guys. I work at a KFC. You know, this is after working in the NBA. I mean, like when I felt my shit didn't stink, then I get humbled. So I make this comeback. You know, I'd never been a broadcaster. I do TV news in Northeast Louisiana, which, let's just say, great people there. But if you end up in Northeast Louisiana, you either took a wrong turn or something that you didn't expect in your life has taken place. This is from somebody who's from Philadelphia. So when I'm in Louisiana, though, and I'm actually, you know, on fire, working a great program in recovery and working TV news. I was awful at it, but I'm doing it every day. I adopt a dog, right? I get my dog. I had nothing. I had a lazy boy. I had a dog and a television set, right? And I went to work every day. And you know, I would come home and hang with the dog. The dog was out of her mind. But she was, you know, it's my ride or die. Anyways, you know, here we are 10 years later. You get a couple things going for you. All of a sudden, you got a fiance, you got new jobs, you got a new place to live. You're calling games for ESPN and NBC Peacock, and it's all good, man. And your dog, who has been your right-hand man through this whole journey, is now starting to urinate inside the house with frequency. Okay. So this is your day one, right? You're day one. And, you know, when you live with a wonderful woman like I do, 90, 80% of the time, they don't want dogs peeing in their house, right? And I see it happening. I see it. It's like, okay, you know, Pete, she urinated again. You know, I'm like, oh God, I took her for a walk yesterday for like 90 minutes, right? And she's still kind of doing it. So, you know, this isn't something I'm not a fan of, right? And I do know about this. This goes back to my initial point. So now I got my right-hand gal here, Sadie, my dog. And I feel the pressure. My mother, I saw this with my mom. Our dog Sadie lost control. Sandy lost control. Sandy lived with my brother Kevin at his fraternity house. Sandy had done acid. She had done other drugs. This dog was not well. She would run straight down the stairs, stare at you, run straight back up. Not like zoomies, like all the time insane, right? This dog was not well. And at some point on her journey, where my brother moved to California and just dropped this dog off at my parents' house, which I enjoyed because I love Sandy. Sandy started to lose control of her bowels, right? Defecating. This is the huge deal, right? If you're in a family, you know the deal. So one day my mom takes Sandy to, she's going to get boarded, right? They're going away for vacation. It was the summer of my senior year. I was home. I think I was going to the Jersey Shore, senior year in college. My mom takes Sandy to get boarded. Sandy doesn't come back. Sandy never came back. Now, I low-key accused my mother of killing the dog, to which my father, one of those like happy wife, happy life deals, like, if you say another word about that, I'm going to knock your teeth out. I was like, all right, I won't say it again. But it was clear what had happened. I see it happening with my girl Sadie now. It's like, oh, maybe she needs to go to the vet. There's no more vet appointments. So last night, we kind of came to this diaper situation, right? So the dog now is going to wear diapers. They've been ordered. They're on the way. I literally, when I took her out last night, I wanted to just let her out into Main Street here in Flower Mound, Texas, and just tell her to run. Just go free. Take your dignity. If you play in traffic and that's the end, you went out on top, right? This dog traipsing around in diapers for the rest of its life is something that just hits me the wrong way. And again, this goes back to, there's been a lot of new things for this dog since I've become engaged and since I really met a partner I love with and I'm sharing my life with. Another thing, if you guys have been watching the show for long enough, was the steroid situation, right? She was sick, so we had to put her on steroids, okay? And she was like Ivan Drago in the middle of Rocky IV, like, just like they're giving her steroids and she's just staring at me all night long, all afternoon long, right? Like, I'm like, this is not this dog's personality. They're like, oh, she just wants to go out. She's anxious. I'm like, no, it's because you guys put her on drugs. And now we're going to put her in a diaper. I am just dumb enough to think if none of this ever came into play, her and I would be fine, healthy, and happy as clams in northeastern Louisiana. But this is what happens in life. You have to evolve. So when I was asked last night, hey, what do you think about diapers? I said, if it will keep you from killing the dog, I will get diapers. So that's what we're doing. If you've had experience with your dog and diapers, hit me up in the comments. Kevin Fisher early on, Fish is saying, well, this is, oh, look at this. Hold on. Bear the truth. Bear the truth. You could try changing Sadie's food. It would probably help. Bear the Truth owns a conglomerate, right? Brian does, where they sell, they're actually like above my pay grade. They sell like, I don't know, like they sell stuff that like Paris Hilton's dog would use, you know? Like they sell like diamond rings for dogs and stuff. Bear the Truth. Hit me with the name of your thing and I'll mention it. And here's Kevin Fisher, my main man. You know, Fish, hey, he's right. You got to give Philly a hard time. I mean, I can remember last thing about Philadelphia. There was a night, and I mentioned I'm sober. Me and my buddy Jimmy Bell, who else was it? Mike DeZena, and Ryan Hall. Okay, it was a Columbus Day. This was right after college, 1999. The Eagles won, I think, 1 or 2 games in Andy Reid's first year. And they beat the Cowboys at home, was one of the wins they had. Me and my buddies went out that night. I was living in Philly for like a cup of coffee after I graduated college. We went to Club Egypt, and we saw Cecil Martin. He was a fullback. And we were like, Cecil, what up, dude? You won. And he was really cool, a really good guy. And we got home, and we decided we were going to call Paul Jalvitz all night long on 610 WIP and make his life miserable. And I could get into what we said, but I don't think that would be a good look for me professionally. I do still love WIP, though. Some of my friends still listen to WIP. But honestly, since Howard Eskin has left, you could say what you want about the guy's character or whatever. Howard was the insider. Howard was an Adam Schefter, but he was just out of control with his personality and rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. All right, we're going to come back. Cam and I are going to look into, there's a TikTok trend going on right now, and it is what is your, right, number one, number two sports what if? Like Jeff Pearlman got in on the act last night, and he said the Jets could have drafted Dan Marino, Emmitt Smith, and Jerry Rice. But instead they got Ken O'Brien, Blair Thomas, and Al Toon. If your organization had something like that, please let us know, and we'll share it here. What did Kevin say? It was better listening. I appreciate that, to listen to Philly. I truly believe that too. I wanted to share a little something with you today because we don't have a guest. And Matt Mosley, who's a part of the Rogue Media Network and is now on the list of no more free rides, was unavailable today when I tried to get in touch with him. So thanks a lot, Mosley. I don't know if you're aware, Paul Catalina has a late night show that's coming up. And Cam and Chris Visser and I are just over here closing in on 100,000 subscribers, trying to make chicken salad. We do it every day. The Pete Sousa Show presented by Slovakics. We'll be right back after this.
Bubble allows you to make it real and for it to actually work. So I feel like Bubble bridges that gap and being able to give people the opportunity to make their ideas come to life really quickly too. I love that I can sit down and build something the way that I think it should be built and have the control over it.
Bubble turns ideas into fully scalable apps. Try Bubble today.
Hi, I'm Jo from Face Theory. You're going to want to have a specific goal for your skincare routine. What do you want to achieve? Active ingredients are really strong, and if you're using too many at once, your skin can get overwhelmed. Don't overspend on products. Choose products that have scientific research behind them. At Face Theory, if you're not happy with a product, just say so, just give us a shout and we'll give you your money back, no problem.
I know you're gonna love this Kodak Dot Plus printer. You guys just connect it to your smartphone and then you're gonna use the Kodak Photo Print app. It's going to print you a 4x6 photo. I am just in awe. I love how these turned out. Also, the printer comes with a free cartridge of 10 photo sheets. I can assure you, you are going to love this printer as much as my family has. You guys have to check it out for yourself.
Streamline event and appointment booking with Amelia's sleek, modern, and fully customizable booking forms. Tailor the colors, fonts, and design to match your brand and seamlessly integrate with your WordPress website. Whether it's for events or appointments, Amelia makes booking simple, stylish, and perfectly aligned with your business. Enhance your booking experience today at WPAmelia.com. That's WPAMELIA.com. Amelia.
When you learn a language with Babbel, you start a journey that takes you further and further. Anytime and anywhere you wish. It's easy and fun. Broadens your horizons and keeps your brain fit. A journey into new thoughts, new cultures, new adventures. So what are you waiting for? Start your journey with Babbel now. Go to babbel.com or download the app.
BadCreditLoans.com is a pioneering service provider that has carved a reputation in the financial industry for its dedication to helping individuals with bad credit secure loans. By making timely repayments, borrowers can gradually repair their credit history, thereby increasing their chances of securing better loan terms in the future. BadCreditLoans.com serves as a beacon of hope for those with bad credit. Simple, fast, and reliable loan application process. And its commitment to responsible borrowing makes it a trusted partner in the journey towards financial stability.
The Pete Sousa Show. We are rocking and rolling, and we're now talking about sports what ifs. Okay, there's a TikTok challenge. Cameron, come on, join us with this.
I will join, but we could be efforting something for the Pete Sousa Show right now.
Okay,
that's some breaking news, but I'm here.
Nice. So I'm seeing something. Is that possible? Is Visser on that?
Yep. So I have to make a call out.
Right, I'll handle this. You make a call out.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're working on some breaking news right here. So Cam is on it. Cam, if you need to, by the way, we can just make a graphic and do it a phoner. Okay.
Working on it.
Okay. Wow, this is all of a sudden we've gotten pretty intense here. So we'll save the what ifs because I wanted to include Cam in that. But I will tease it a little bit. And here's exactly what we're looking for. We got in the comments right here. So here is a great what if. Okay. What if Len Bias does not pass away and was able to play for the Boston Celtics? We could go on for a day about this one. It's probably fish. It's probably one of the best ones. You could ask. Cam is over there efforting a big-time Cowboys personality, so he can't get involved in this one, but I'm sure he'll have something to say about it. So we will save this, whether it's for later in the show or tomorrow. That'll be fun. Quick story about the game I have tomorrow night, by the way. I got 2 games coming up in the next 5 days. Well, I got Arizona State at BYU. That's tomorrow night on Peacock. Super excited for that game. Can anybody stop AJ Dybantsa? We will find out. Wow, that's a really good one too. All right, hold on now, Scotty. I'm gonna just put this up because you're the greatest. Scotty B, the Baylor King. How about that? What if Brandon Bullsworth never passes in the car accident? Now, Brandon Bullsworth was a walk-on tackle at Arkansas who ended up getting drafted into the NFL. Subsequently died. I don't know, a month after the draft. There's a documentary out there. You should definitely watch it. Amazing story, amazing guy. You guys obviously get the idea. But back to college hoops. I have a game tomorrow as there's a lawnmower outside. Do these guys not know we're doing the Pete Sousa Show? Another beautiful day, by the way, in Texas. So the lawnmower's got me going. I used to mow lawns. I need to, rise above. So, so tomorrow night's game is Arizona State at BYU. So I was a sports information guy, PR guy for USA Basketball, for the Charlotte Bobcats, now Hornets, and the Philadelphia 76ers. Okay, Craig Miller was a mentor of mine. Craig was the SID for Villanova when they won the 1985 national championship, and then he actually moved on to USA Basketball and was the first PR guy for USA Basketball when they started to use pro players in 1992. Craig is a legend. He would never tell you that because he's probably one of the most humble guys in the world. Just recently retired from USA Basketball after like 30-some years. But Craig instilled in me, I don't know, just a love for sports information, for sports media. He took me under his wing when I was a little kid when my mom worked at Villanova. So I've always taken sports information really seriously, but also I know how much those guys have going on. It's a thankless job. It's way worse than being a field goal kicker. You know, people only notice when something goes wrong. Something's wrong in the game notes. I had an incident once where I worked for an NBA team, and our sports media department actually, we actually got a guy kicked out of a game. There was some red tape that was supposed to be handled before the game, which was not handled, and we had a player, Jeff McGinnis, in fact, checked into the game for the Charlotte Bobcats and was not on the official roster, ultimately being jettisoned at the first dead ball when Dick Bavetta called over Bernie Bickerstaff to let him know that Jeff McGinnis would now be thrown out of the game because his PR guys didn't have Jeff on the active roster. We had just traded for Jeff. And somebody who Kevin Fisher knows, who was the PR guy for the 76ers, noticed this and told Jimmy Lynam, the assistant coach for the Sixers. Jimmy Lynam goes ahead, and Jimmy goes ahead and he tells Dick Bavetta, and we get a guy kicked out of a game. So I really appreciate sports information guys and how hard that job is. That was crazy, by the way. How do you think me and my cohorts felt when we saw Bernie Bickerstaff trying to figure out what the hell was going on at the scores table in front of a sold-out game, a sold-out arena in Charlotte? They were playing the Sixers, and actually at that time, that night, the Sixers were playing the Saints in that Saturday night wild card playoff game where Reggie Bush just got tattooed. Visser, you were doing that game with Dick Stockton. Chris Visser was working alongside Stockton for Fox during that game. That's another classic Jimmy Lynam story, as Fish just weighs in. Yeah, it was. And we all thought we were going to lose our jobs, but we didn't. But I kind of did eventually. I mean, I got another job, but shit rolls downhill. Let's just put it that way. Not my fault, by the way. Most stuff is. That was not. Anyways, Connor Smith, the sports information guy for Arizona State, gave me a call yesterday. And we went through the Arizona State roster. And Connor Smith is one of the best sports information guys in the entire country. And the reason I bring that up is because we went through the whole Arizona State roster. All right, we have Kelvin Watkins now with the Dallas Morning News. And we bring him up. Is Kelvin, are you with us?
Yes, sir. You hear me?
My man, Kelvin, thanks so much, dude.
What's going on? You good?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Last time I talked to you, we were talking about that show Task. That worked out, man. That turned out to be a great show.
It did work out. Yes, it did.
Ew, that worked out way better than things did for Matt Eberflus.
Oh, my gosh. Heck, yeah. They should have hired one of
they should have hired Mark Ruffalo, I guess. He had the same beard, I guess.
one of those fighters bring a little feistiness to the defense.
What are your thoughts on this off the top? You know, my question is, Eberflus was hired before Schottenheimer. I had heard, and you know way better than me, that he was kind of Jerry Jones's guy, air quotes. I heard that from one of Eberflus' coaching buddies. But what do you make of this change, and how did it come about, as far as you know, with being on the beat and knowing everything you do know about this organization?
Well, I'm kind of surprised they made the decision sooner rather than later. But there was a decision that had to be made. The defense is one of the worst in the league. The Cowboys, in the history of the franchise, and you're talking about going back to 1960, the defense has never allowed 30 points a game until this year. They allowed a franchise record 511 points. It was just bad. The scheme wasn't fully accepted by the players. There was a lack of flexibility with Eberflus and how he wanted to run the scheme. It just didn't instill any confidence in anybody in terms of saying, hey, we'll keep you around for the 2026 season.
When you look at the possibility of who could take his place, is there anybody that you know, with your education around Stephen and Jerry Jones, you have an idea of who they might like to hire, or is there anything you have heard as to who is on their radar right now?
They like to hire former head coaches to be their coordinators. Now you can say this is flawed thinking, but they've had success at that in the past. Most recently, Dan Quinn, who was their DC for 3 seasons. The next 2 hires were Mike Zimmer and, of course, Matt Eberflus, 2 former head coaches, and they didn't even last a year. So it's easy to look at a lot of ex-coaches who are fantastic defensive coordinators and pick them, but that's what the Cowboys look at. Jonathan Gannon, who just got let go in Arizona, Raheem Morris, who just got let go in Atlanta. Those would be 2 guys I would definitely look at. Jim Leonard, who's the passing game coordinator / defense in Denver. Sean Payton has a close relationship with the Jones family, so I'm sure they'll pick Sean's brain about Jim. But those, I would say, maybe the top. Don't count out Leslie Frazier, who the Cowboys adore. He interviewed for the head coaching job that eventually went to Brian Schottenheimer. So those are some of the names I think that you should look at initially right now.
Kelvin, we're talking with Kelvin Watkins from the Dallas Morning News, obviously great Cowboys beat reporter. When you look at the decision that was made, right, to let Eberflus go, I thought that one of the things that Dan Quinn did such a great job with, and again, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I felt like he was empowered. And that first draft when he took over, the Cowboys had a lot of draft picks, but I don't know if they listened to what Dan Quinn had to say. But he was able to get the tools, whether it was through the draft or free agency, that enabled him to turn that defense into a squad that led the league in takeaways 3 years straight. I think there were 12-5 3 years in a row. Points against 7th, 5th, and 5th. And it speaks to your point and the Cowboys' history, hiring a head coach, somebody with gravitas. How important is it that whoever gets this job has a voice in the room when personnel decisions are being made? Because clearly they don't have the dudes as well.
Yeah, you need the dudes. They've made some poor decisions in the draft the last couple of years, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Mozzie Smith, who was a first-round pick out of Michigan, defensive tackle, they got rid of him this past through the year in the trade to get Quentin Williams. So they've made some bad decisions in the draft, as I said, with getting personnel. Whatever they do going forward, right, because they have 2 first-round picks in the draft, they got to get impactful players on defense. They need a pass rusher. They definitely need a linebacker in the middle. But whatever they do, these guys you've got to have guys that can fit the scheme and not the other way around. Because sometimes you have schemes and coaches are not flexible in their schemes. But you need a coordinator that's going to be flexible with the personnel.
Kelvin, just a couple more questions for you because I know you're so busy today. Did the players have anything to do with this change? Were there rumblings internally where they said, we need a new scheme and we're not taking to this? You touched on that a little bit off the top, but just looking for something definitive there.
I don't think the players did. The results basically was what this was about. The players, especially the corners, did not like playing a lot of heavy zone. They wanted to play more man-to-man, and Eberflus was kind of against some of that kind of thing. But the players were not embracing the scheme. They liked Eberflus as a guy, but not the scheme because he didn't allow them to have the flexibility that you need on the defense.
How much turnover do you think this defense personnel-wise is looking at in the offseason?
Major. You don't have a pass rusher. You only have a second-round pick in Donovan Izraku. Sam Williams and Dante Fowler are also free agents. So you're going to need a pass rusher, whether you get that in the draft or free agency. The linebackers are all free agents, except for Logan Wilson you got in the trade, but you can cut him. So you need a new linebacker. Donovan Wilson, one of your starting safeties, he's going to be a free agent. So you got to replace him. Deron Bland, who's the starting corner, he's going to be coming off foot surgery for the second consecutive year. So maybe you might have to get yourself another corner temporarily. So there'll be a lot of new faces for the Cowboys defense next year, starting with the defensive coordinator.
Last question for you. Who spearheads this decision-making process? Who's the number one, whether it's Clay, Jerry, Steven, who's making this call?
It's a collaborative effort. However, in 2020, Mike McCarthy said, I want Mike Nolan to be the defensive coordinator, and they were like, cool. Then he fired him after 1 year. Then McCarthy said, I want Dan Quinn to come in, and they said, cool, no problem. And then Jerry Jones took over, and they hired Mike Zimmer 2 years ago, and then they bring in Matt Eberflus. So, as I said, it's a combination of everybody, collaborative effort. I think this hire, Shotty might have a little more say just because Eberflus failed in his first year on the job.
All right, is there a show you're watching you can recommend?
I don't have many shows right now. You're going to have to help me right now. I don't have anything going right now.
Man, I've been searching myself. I think there's going to be a new wave that honestly, it's Tuesday after the holidays. We're just going to have to look out on all the streaming services because there's going to be a couple big ones hitting here coming up. The Elway documentary, I watched it. For guys like you and I, that's real surface level stuff. I appreciate it. It was fun to watch, but a guy like you probably pass on that. But I'll let you know. I'll let you know next time we talk.
Let me know. I might check out the Elway thing, just as you said, just because there's something there. Okay.
Yeah, it's fun. All right, Kelvin Watkins, man, Dallas Morning News. Such a cool dude, man. Thanks so much, Chris Visser and Cam Stewart, for coming together to make that happen. Wow, that's just great to be able to get Kelvin Watkins on a morning like this when Matt Mosley is busy and officially is maybe, I don't know if he was listening, but he just said he could. He was up till 4 a.m. He said he can join at 10:40. I'll tell him we're good. We got Kelvin Watkins, dude. I love Mosley, but I'll text him. Thank you so much, though, Visser and Cam. Let me wrap up my point about sports information. Actually, let me react to that. Let's do. I want to do what feels natural. I find it interesting that the Cowboys always have to hire a former head coach. That has just been the MO for this organization since the beginning of time. And, it's going to probably cost them a pretty penny. And you're not quite sure what you're going to get. If it were up to me, I would hire Brian Flores if he was available. I think one of the reasons a guy like Brian Flores, I think he's gettable because of all the BS that's in the rearview mirror. And me as an organization or anybody who might be in charge of calling the shots, I don't care about that. That's well above my pay grade. If I'm Jerry Jones or Stephen Jones, I don't know what it's like to be Brian Flores. So I respect that. But I also respect his defensive acumen. And I respect his track record. So I would love Brian Flores as my DC if I was a Cowboys fan. Love him. And we got to. I do believe too what I said to Kelvin. We're going to have some good shows coming up here in a little bit. Real good shows. So back to what I was saying. I'll put a bow on this. But Connor Smith calls me up. The call was 55 minutes. I had to get this guy off the phone. And I love him. I had to get him off the phone because I had to go pick up the kids. And there was a whole lot involved in doing that. I had to grab a bunch of stuff for the car. So I had to go. But, he's telling me there's a guy named Pig Johnson, right? Hey, Connor, how did Pig get his nickname? Oh, let me tell you. Pig grew up in the middle of Alabama, tough circumstances. Alabama, football's the sport. All he wanted to do was go outside, play football. He came home a muddy mess every night. Mom and dad decided his name was going to be Pig. I'm like, boom. Has anybody mentioned that yet this year? He's like, no, not the reason why. Boom. This is the second conference game for both of these teams. They're first on Peacock in conference. And stories like that go a long way. And then he talked about Mo Odom, a guy they got from the Bronx in New York City playing at Arizona State. He's like an extension of Bobby Hurley on the court. He is not the most liked guy on the roster, but the most respected. I mean, now I can't go on the air and compare this guy to Michael Jordan. Hey, Michael Jordan's teammates didn't like him, but he commanded respect. That's a danger zone. Even though I'm working with Brendan Haywood, who I think played with Michael Jordan when he was with the Washington Wizards. But I ain't going there. But it does. So I'm mulling over how can I talk about how this guy Mo Odom commands respect. And then Connor goes on to tell me they call him Maui Mo because he shot 75% from three when he was playing in the Maui Invitational, but he's averaged like 14% since. I say all that to say there's some PR guys who you can't even get on the phone. And a guy like Connor Smith deserves his props, dude. Just does an amazing job. So thank you so much, Connor. And I can call him or text him whenever I want. Tyson Jenks, the guy who does BYU, is amazing. And I got to call Tyson later on today, and he'll give me whatever I want as well. But, yeah, I'm grateful for that. All right, we'll step aside. We're going to come back. Thanks so much, Kelvin Watkins. Thanks, Chris Visser. Thanks, Cam Stewart. We will get that up for you, by the way, if you missed it. Kelvin Watkins on the Pete Sousa Show talking about Matt Eberflus and his department. Yeah, Kevin Fisher, longtime SID guy. He loves it. But, yeah, some SIDs are better than others. I'm sorry. There are guys who you will – and there's one last point on this. I know this because I was the guy, okay? There is a time in your life, right, where if you're a program or an organization, right, and I'm talking sports, high profile, if you're going to hire someone in their mid-20s, late 20s, they need to be a nerd. They cannot be like social butterflies, because if you get the social butterfly thing, then you'll have a guy who almost like trades on the fact that he works for an NBA team. Will trade on the fact that he has, I don't know, let's say Anthony Edwards' phone number. Not like he's giving it out to people, but I know Anthony Edwards. You need Anthony Edwards to show up at an event. I can get him there. What's coming my way? You do not want any part of that. You know, at some point, those guys might evolve and become grown men, but you want the guys who geek out on hoops and grind it out and get it done. I'm telling you, no matter where these players are from, they respect that more so than they do the sizzle, because they see right through the sizzle line of BS. So shout out to all the good SIDs out there. Mike Sheridan in Villanova is a legend. That's one guy you got to mention. All right, the Pete Sousa Show. We'll be back with some what-ifs after this.
It doesn't matter if your investment budget is small or big. All you need is Benzinga Pro and its powerful news alerts, price tracking, and portfolio monitoring. Subscribe now, and we'll skyrocket your portfolio today.
Experience with the Bosley MD hair regrowth kit was amazing. It was easy to use. It let me take off my hat. I could go in public and have my picture taken and feel normal again.
BosleyMD.com.
Join us at golfpartnerusa.com and discover why we're the trusted choice for golf lovers worldwide. That's GOLFPARTNERUSA.com. Golf Partner. Experience the future of secure private cloud storage with Internix. Protect your files with end-to-end encryption, ensuring your data stays private and accessible only to you. That's INTERNXT.com today.
Apollo Neuro is a new kind of wearable that helps your body recover from stress, that helps you calm down and feel better. You sleep better, and you can get back to being yourself. Learn more at apolloneuro.com.
Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. NordVPN.com. That's NORDVPN.com.
Our patented handles were launched in 2018. We continue to push the boundaries of strength training. Join us in making your training more natural and effective. Visit Engels90.com to learn more and revolutionize your workout.
Dive into adventure with Scuba.com, your ultimate destination for top-tier scuba and snorkeling gear. Whether you're a beginner or a pro, trust Scuba.com for the best in diving equipment and expert guidance. Explore now at Scuba.com. That's SCUBA.com. Scuba.com. At Fullwell, we bring together the expertise of registered dietitians, MDs, and OBGYNs to give you the best fertility support. Fullwell, your trusted partner on your fertility journey. Visit us at FullwellFertility.com. Experience the perfect blend of exquisite craftsmanship and life-changing technology with Gevi. Every product is built with precision, featuring specialized parts that ensure durability, efficiency, and safety. Upgrade your everyday with Gevi. Visit us at gevi.com to discover more.
It's the Pete Sousa Show.
With San, owning iconic furniture no longer requires paying a premium. With over 15,000 satisfied customers worldwide, we've proven that high-quality furniture doesn't have to come with a high price tag. Explore our collection today at san.com.
At Covers & All, we've revolutionized protective solutions with cutting-edge, customizable covers, tarps, and curtains. We deliver premier protection at affordable prices and express shipping. Visit coversandall.com today for the perfect fit, guaranteed to last.
Relax with Hemp Delicious. Organically grown hemp, massively blended with delicious organic herbs, responsibly sourced for their holistic benefits. Each sip offers calming, antioxidant-rich wellness. Brewed just for you. Sip the calm with Hemp Delicious.
At Open Goal USA, we're revolutionizing training for both soccer and lacrosse with our innovative portable rebounders. Perfect for players of all ages and skill levels. Visit opengoaalusa.com and elevate your training today.
Get paid faster with Bill, the easiest way to send, receive, and manage your payments. No more delays, no more hassle. Whether you're a freelancer or a business, Bill makes payments seamless and secure, simple, fast, and reliable. Sign up today at bill.com.
Stability.
Cam, look at this guy. This is Charlie. Christy, you want to say hi?
No.
Christy, say hi.
But I know on camera.
All right, just say hi. Lean over, say hi.
It's awful.
There you are. Look at that. Look at that belly, Cam.
Staying behind the.
So Christy's working. We got something going on. We got Lex a dentist appointment, but she doesn't want to go because she's got something she has to pick up, a wardrobe item.
A mask.
A mask because she likes the band Ghost. Yeah. So she's going to the dentist. Needless to say, right, boss?
Yeah.
Can we work on the high five? No, stop. You just meet me there.
No, that's weird.
This girl's a softball player, Division I softball player. We got to teach her how to high five. All right, take her.
You know what?
At least she knows. My fiance, I think I had to teach her the concept of a high five.
Yeah, he's trying to do this. He wants me to do that.
Just do this.
No, you like it's a slap. But
It can be a meet in the middle situation.
She is like the 1980s LA Dodgers. We just invented the high five. Like if it were up to her, we would jump and go like that. You know?
yeah, that would be fun.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. See you.
Right. She doesn't like you.
So Cam.
Bye, Cam.
Christy says bye, Cam.
Bye, Christy.
So all right, let's get to first of all, before we do our what ifs, you have a special video. By the way, great job for Kelvin. How stressed were you about Kelvin Watkins?
Very. I don't have a phonographic. That's on me. I've never done one. So it sounded good. It sounded great. Which I'm okay with.
There's one thing, if you can do one thing in post, if you can, I guess we don't need to do anything in post. If you can just clip that and put it up, that'd be great.
I could do that.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you ready for this though?
You set it up, dude.
Yeah. So I didn't exactly tell you what it is, but I knew that you'd like it. So I saw this on social media because it is the 40-year anniversary of this seismic event.
Can I guess?
Yeah.
1986, January 6th. The Patriots beat the Raiders, or they beat the Dolphins to go to the Super Bowl.
Stick with your initial instinct.
The Patriots beat the Raiders at the LA Coliseum on the road, and Matt Millen punches my buddy Sully. Sully's like uncle, right?
Yes, Pat Sullivan, Billy's son. Do you want the little news report from it? It's classic, like Pete Sousa.
Yes, please.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah.
As I was saying, don't ever invite New England Patriots owner Bill Sullivan and Raiders owner Al Davis to the same cocktail party. That is, unless you also plan to invite the authorities. The blood feud between these two goes back all the way to 1978, when Patriot wide receiver Darrell Stingley was accidentally paralyzed by Raiders now retired Jack Tatum. Then there was the time that Billy Sullivan testified for the NFL and against Al Davis during Davis' move to Los Angeles. Yesterday, Pat's general manager, Pat Sullivan, Billy's son, jeered the Raiders players from the sidelines in the closing minutes of that AFC playoff game at the Coliseum. That led to an on-field confrontation between Pat Sullivan and a couple of Raider players following the game.
I told one of their players that I was tired of him making speeches about our football team and how
how great the Raiders are and how lousy the New England Patriots are. I told him I was tired of that. He took exception to it during the game. He tells me he's going to see me after the game on the ramp, and he did. Well, who was it? Well, actually, the guy that gave me this was Matt Millen. Grabbed me by the back of the hair and flings his helmet at me. That's real good, you know. Guy stands up there real tough with both hands and his helmet off and hits me with his helmet. But let me tell you something. We're just getting back for Jack Tatum and all the other crap that this football team has put on our football team for 12 years.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
my God, dude. I have never seen that. That is amazing.
Hair looks great still afterwards for Pat.
Retribution for Jack Tatum.
How good is that?
By the way, how peak. Okay. So if you're Patrick Sullivan, okay, like you're probably, how old is he there? 20-something, 30-something?
I was going to say 30s, maybe 40.
30s. Yeah. He's a Sullivan, so he's got to be drinking. Right? He's probably, who else knows what's going on there? It's 1986. If you read a little bit about the Patriots in the aftermath, there were some things happening around that organization that were drug-induced and not good. And who's to say Pat wouldn't be a part of that while he's jeering at Matt Millen and the – I mean, dude, that is out of control. Right?
I have this idea that they brought cases of Narragansett with them. And they're slits, you know, and they're pulling off the tops. Pat Sullivan is drinking on the sideline as the Raiders commit their 5th turnover of the game. And he's like, oh, this is pretty nice, isn't it? You know, like just some of that really light jabbing that really gets on your nerves when you're losing a playoff game, I'd imagine.
Well, how about he's given that interview in the locker room after they won. I mean, so he probably feels better than Tony Eason, Steve Grogan, or Raymond Barrett.
That might be in the trainer's room. It might be literally like he's putting his shirt back on. He's got the Band-Aid. It's great.
And props to whoever, like whether that was, I don't know, like WBRZ at the time getting that, or maybe it was ESPN getting that footage. By the way, RIP Tom Mees. You know, he passed away.
I didn't know that. I didn't know
so
that.
he was one of your first ESPN. He was probably the first wave of ESPN SportsCenter guys, right? Mm-hmm. A legend. Everybody liked him. The guy was a huge hockey guy, by the way.
Yeah, and you know what? When I first heard him was watching like old YouTube clips of old lacrosse games, college lacrosse games when ESPN would carry the Final Four.
Yes,
that's what he'd have. Yeah. So yes, he did. He'd do it when they did college hockey as well. So all that old UMaine stuff I talk about, Tom Mees doing it. Yeah.
By the way, that's a great get. He passed away in he drowned. I think it was a real tragedy. Yeah. But that, I mean, hey, his legacy still lives on in reports like that. That was unbelievable. That's an unbelievable poll count.
I just thought you'd like it.
So is that your sports what if? What if Matt Millen wasn't enraged and didn't punch Pat Sullivan, that maybe the Patriots would have remained more focused and won the Super Bowl?
I don't know, man. I don't know. The Patriots were clearly riding some juju at that point. 3 road playoff wins that year, winning Miami, the Orange Bowl for the first time basically ever. I mean, sometimes you just hit the 85 Bears, you know.
Up
and what are you going to do?
I've relitigated this game for you. Up 3-0.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was. Did Ronnie Lepet? He played defense, right? One of the Patriots had an interception slip through his head. Like not only were they up 3-0, but they had a couple other opportunities that they completely blew. I mean, they weren't ready for prime time. They just weren't. And I'm not saying they weren't a great team, but they weren't ready for prime time. And the Bears, well, I mean,
they'll be remembered as like the '98 Falcons, which were actually a pretty good team, but it was fluky one year. They upset the Vikings, and then nobody remembers them because the Broncos and John Elway, right? Like there's always those Super Bowl teams. The Panthers in 2003. You know, what a story. They lose to the Patriots, you know.
That's why I know
the next year, finally getting over the hump, you know.
Yeah. But the Eagles, I would push back on the Eagles. They went to the NFC Championship like every year.
They were a part of that era for sure.
These teams were one-offs, and you're right. And I think those coaches know, and that's what's so hard, makes those losses so hard for those teams, because we got lightning in the bottom.
That could be a good segment someday.
Yeah, like the
closer
teams
to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Oh, you know who else? The number one, the Cincinnati Bengals when they lost to the 49ers in Miami.
Okay, I was gonna say which time they lost the
Well-
49ers twice, didn't they?
They did in Miami. They lost them. But that game, they really should have won. How about this? Scotty B, this is his what if. Well, then Nick Bonacani wouldn't have ridden off into the sunset like he did.
Yeah, we wouldn't have
Popping the
Mercury
champagne
Morris
every year.
hosting every year, the late Mercury Morris. Yeah.
Mercury Morris is gone. Nick Bonacani's gone. I'll tell you one more thing. I was here upstairs with Christy 2 nights ago, and somebody passed away. Maybe it was a Supreme Court judge. I forget. Forgive me. But she said, gosh, we're losing all these people. Did you hear Judge such and such just passed away? And I turned around and I said, yeah, we've almost lost all the 72 Dolphins, which was met with like, you're a total moron. But it's true. We're losing those guys. It sucks.
Yeah. That's how my dad feels like the 60s Celtics and Red Sox. Like they're all there's like 1 or 2 guys left from the Celtics dynasty.
Spaceman alive?
Yeah, he's still alive. Yep, he's hanging on.
How come we don't hear more about him? Spaceman was like a real eccentric pitcher for the Red Sox when they were really good. He was kind of like an Aaron Rodgers, but more.
Oh yeah. He was closer to Ozzie Guillen, maybe. Than
a late night guest who would be he would go on Carson and stuff. Yeah.
I don't know. Just everyone's got Twitter now. So
yeah.
What do you need a guy like that for?
That's pretty good, Cam. All right, what's your what if?
All right, so I've got several what ifs.
Let's go. Bring it on.
If that'll surprise you. But one was already brought up, Len Bias, I think has to be. Just real quick, as I get all the sports lore from my dad. He went to Duke in the 80s. That's how I got my name, in case you didn't know. So he saw live between his couple of college stops. He saw Michael Jordan, Sam Perkins, Ralph Sampson. He's also been to plenty of Celtics games, Larry Bird, these guys. And he said the best player I've ever seen live, like the most dominant player I've ever seen live, was Len Bias. And it wasn't really close. He was like, it was unbelievable. Nobody could live with him. He was such an incredible athlete, more so than anybody on the floor. So this is a guy who saw Michael Jordan play in college and said, no, Len Bias was more dominant anyway. And it changes Larry Bird's career. He would have retired, he said, after like 88. And I don't know if that makes his career any better or worse, but then the Celtics thing continues on potentially into the 90s. We don't get any Rick Pitino. We don't get the Chauncey Billups trade 51 games into the season. We don't get a lot of that. And Len Bias, obviously Reggie Lewis too, but Len
Bias passing away, it seemed to me, not as close to it as you are or were, like that.
You were alive.
I was alive. That led to desperation from the Celtics, which for a team that was in pole position for so long, obviously it didn't work out.
Yeah, and trying to put it into perspective of like today's day and age, it would have been like a couple years ago, Steph Curry is about to retire and they get, name your prospect, Cooper Flagg or Zion Williamson or someone like that. And 2 days later, he's gone. Not ACL tear, like he's gone.
But Len Bias
crazy.
Categorically was better than all those guys.
Better than like Steph Curry or?
In college, for sure.
Yeah.
And the two guys you mentioned.
But yes, he was an incredible player.
Yeah.
And
one of the best. And I'm going to use this
franchise. Yeah.
I'm going to use this in a game, but I have to be well aware that the person I'm talking about has 2 living parents that are together. But when Mark Plansky was getting annihilated by Len Bias on an NBA, Mark Plansky was a white guy from somewhere in Massachusetts.
Yes, I played lacrosse against his son. Yeah.
Oh, you did? Okay. So Mark Plansky is getting devoured, right? And it's by Len Bias, and Al McGuire's on the call. It was an NBC game at the Pavilion, which had just opened up. It was called the DuPont Pavilion before John DuPont decided to kill a person.
All comes back to death. Yeah.
Then it just became the Pavilion, and they put a shrub in front of DuPont, and then they finally took DuPont down. But Al McGuire was like, Mr. and Mrs. Plansky, this is not your fault. This is not your son's fault. He's playing against one of the best players I've ever seen. It was like, it really hit home. It was great, And he obviously knew Mr. and Mrs. Plansky were together. All right, what's your next one?
All right, so the next one, another Boston one, because that's what I'm bringing today. It's on the banner here. I mean, there's no bigger what if to me than what if Babe Ruth never gets sold to the Yankees. Like this picture I have up here, if you're watching on YouTube, it's the iconic picture of Babe Ruth in the Red Sox uniform. And Pete, I am Red Sox guy 101, historic now, everything. It still feels weird to me to see Babe Ruth in a Red Sox uniform.
Yeah,
it's a weird feeling. Not like Patrick Ewing, Orlando Magic weird, but like Tom Brady Bucks weird. Of like he's a Yankee, and he is one of the 3 best players of all time, and he could have been doing that with the Red Sox, which like everything changes. I mean, the Yankees probably win at some point, but the Red Sox before that were the Yankees. 5 of the first 15 World Series titles. Like they were royalty. And not only did they not win championships for obviously almost a century after that, but for the next 2 decades, they're horrible. Like just the worst team in the American League. So that's one, which leads into another Red Sox one. And that is, what if Ted Williams wasn't an American hero and served in 2 wars and lost 5 of his prime seasons? Because this dude would be it's almost like a weird way out for the Red Sox of like 20 years after they sold Babe Ruth, they actually do get the best player ever to play the sport. And we get into a world war, and then he serves in Korea as well. So 5 years gone, Pete, for a guy who still hit 521 home runs, even with 5 of his prime seasons out the door, and the highest OBP in Major League history. Like the guy, for the 21 seasons he played in the major leagues, won the Triple Crown for a 2-decade span. No one had more homers, a higher batting average, or more RBI than Ted Williams. He won 2 Triple Crowns and didn't win an MVP in either of those years. He was railroaded. The writers hated him. And
really? I heard he was super selfish. So the writers railroaded him?
I mean, yeah, they loved DiMaggio, and they didn't like Teddy because Teddy didn't like the writers. My pal Teddy, as I call him. Yeah, he didn't like the writers. Like that was obviously a different time, kind of golden era of
when writers were always cozying up. The athletes and writers were buddy.
Right, because the writers held the kind of the ultimate power back then. Like, you know what I mean? Now they don't. You could have your own Twitter page, So, so Ted Williams didn't really like them. DiMaggio, the classic, the Yankee Clipper, and look how graceful he is. And oh man, did you see how much he pimped that catch out there, and the Yankees were always winning. And so, Ted Williams hits 406. He doesn't even win the MVP. That's more impressive than a 56 game hitting streak. Argue with the wall.
There you go.
And he could have had 750 homers. He could have, legit.
And truthfully, I was watching. There was a great documentary out about Ted Williams. It came out in 2017. I knew, the Cliff's Notes. Watching that doc, I did not know that he was ripped away for those 5 years in his prime. I mean, it's unbelievable. And look, not to downplay anybody's service, but Joe DiMaggio was playing baseball games on bases, and Ted Williams was having his plane shot down over enemy territory. I'm just saying, okay? How about JFK had a Purple Heart too? People don't know that. I mean, that's
don't know that.
Yeah, I mean that's big time props,
and cornered the market on an accent. Nobody else ever has had that accent, How many people you can say that about?
Another guy who had an interesting way of speaking, it's a what if, just off the top of my head, is Muhammad Ali. If he wasn't, barred from the sport, right, and put in jail because he wouldn't go, overseas to fight in Vietnam. Great documentary, by the way, called Cover Up on Netflix. Anybody that has, I should have told Kelvin Watkins, I'm gonna message him after. It's amazing. Anybody that has the stomach for journalism, and this is long gone, you won't see any of this anymore. Visser, you should watch it. Anybody else that's watching, Cam, you should watch it. It's very, very, very good. It's about Cy Hirsch, this New York Times writer who just uncovered so many stories, so many amazing stories. And it's all about his sources, and he's a very interesting guy. He doesn't want to talk about it, but yeah, I highly recommend that. Just
a
came out.
documentary for a guy who doesn't want to talk about it. That sounds you're putting the
but he can't help himself. But he can't help himself. He's like one of those guys where he just can't stop talking. Yeah. It's great. It's great. So I got a couple what ifs for you, and they're both Cowboys related. Okay, because I thought I'd make it Cowboys themed because of Eberflus. One, okay, what if Dez makes the catch? Now, if he makes that catch, that Cowboys team, they're playing in the NFC Championship, which means potentially they're going to the Super Bowl, right? And secondly, okay, it totally changes the way we look at Tony Romo. Tony Romo is unfairly painted with this brush, or I guess fairly, because you got to get there. I mean, I hate to be that guy, but like he never won the big one. Like watching that Elway documentary, it is amazing to see all the absolute shit he took before he won those final 2 Super Bowls. That Super Bowl, if he didn't win that Super Bowl against Atlanta and before that Green Bay, Charles Barkley seems like he's the only guy that's pulled it off, but I mean, Elway's like, I think Elway would be below Dan Marino, like in like the way that we talk about this stuff. I really do.
Could be. Yeah.
He went to more Super Bowls, but he wore that level, that label of loser. I mean, his parents, when he got back to the Super Bowl with the Broncos for that 5th try or 4th try, they were like, I don't think we want to go. It's been so bad for us. And the way that they were getting annihilated by the Redskins and then the 49ers. So anyways, that was, I found that interesting about the Cowboys and Dez. And another thing is, what if Jimmy and Jerry never parted ways? Like, what happens to that? Like, and that is just maniacal egomania. We also, I knew a ton about this before the documentary, but the documentary just kind of put a bow on it. And you can't look, it's Christy, you guys just saw her. She's 5'3". I was telling her this morning, like if you were 6'1", it wouldn't be fair. She commands too much of a presence. I don't even think I would be with her. It'd be too much, Yeah. But she would dominate. She would dominate everything. Yeah. I think that it's the same thing with why can't Shaquille O'Neal shoot free throws? Jimmy and Jerry, their egos were too big. It's just like, some things are just beyond us. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. You always want that person with all the talent to figure it out. I loved what was said recently. Rich Paul said it on his new podcast, I guess, with Max Kellerman, taking a shot at Ben Simmons. Did you see this?
No.
He said, some people, when they get to the mountaintop, they just want to come right back down. And that was Ben Simmons, all-star, rookie of the year, got the huge contract, all NBA. And then was just like a lot of guys just want to get to the NBA. Once they get there, they're like, whoa, what do we do now? How do I stay?
Yeah, I get that as someone who's clearly been to the mountaintop, has voluntarily brought himself down. No, you do get some of that. I think with the Cowboys thing that's really interesting though, is obviously what that does for that team in particular, but what that does for kind of the future of the Cowboys, because if Jerry kind of, for lack of a better term, suffers through this, you know what I mean, with Jimmy being so successful and having the big ego, Jerry Jones becomes more Robert Kraft than he does Jerry Jones. You know what I mean? If he sits there and takes it and wins a bunch of Super Bowls, I think, obviously we're seeing it now. Kraft had an ego issue with Bill Belichick, who also has an ego issue. That's what happens with titans of the sport. But you won 6 Super Bowls and everyone sees you as the greatest owner in football. If Jera can just suck it up for a couple of years, and he's not pivoting to Barry Switzer, who I know won a Super Bowl, but he's not pivoting to that, then who knows what the next.
That's a great call. It was out of the two of them. I get it that it's Jerry's team, but it's kind of his job to stand down and let his and let his head coach just be
right.
But he couldn't resist. He still can't resist. I've been reading about that HBO Hard Knocks, that apparently he's front and center on that again. The in-season Hard Knocks. It's a lot of Jerry.
Of course, dude. It's practically a Jerry production, I'm sure.
Go ahead. Throw one more.
Okay, I want to throw one hockey one at you because that's kind of my brand. What if Mario Lemieux never had cancer? And there's a couple of different ways you can go with Mario because he also had debilitating back problems too. But this is a guy who is probably the most skilled player in the history of the league. 1,700 points in 900 games. That's unbelievable.
Why was he so good, Cam? Why was he so good?
He was big. He was fast. He was skilled. He had the silkiest hands of anyone in the league. He was a big bruising guy without needing to be a bruiser. You know, I mean, like he was unfathomably good. Like one year he had 199 points, Pete. Like he was going blow for blow with Gretzky, and then has Larry Bird back and gets cancer in the middle of his career, like in the prime of his career. He's 29 years old.
And Eric Lindros couldn't step up and take. He couldn't.
Couldn't take the mantle.
He couldn't take it. No.
160 points. He led the league in points playing 60 games. 160 points, man. That's unbelievable. And it's the most overused word in sports. It's unbelievable.
How long was he out with the cancer?
So he missed a couple of full seasons. He missed the full, I'm looking at it now, 94-95 season, 97-98, and 98-99, and 99-2000. He goes from 96-97 and then back in 2000-2001, where ho-hum, he gets 76 points in 43 games in his first year back. It's like the Ted Williams thing. You took 5 years of his career just right out from underneath him when he was doing things that nobody had ever seen done outside of Gretzky. We'd probably be talking about Mario as at least a 1-1A, which he should be considered anyway. Like there are some people with great hockey knowledge who think Mario is the best player ever. But like we're robbed of just gaudy statistics because of that.
All right, I got to get out of this hockey conversation.
Yeah, I gotta get up.
But that was good. What's good? One more.
It's what could happen if you bring me on the screen.
Hey, I want you to be authentically you, and I want the hockey until I don't want.
Bobby Orr on two good knees. I'm just saying, huge what if. Still, anyway.
Who was the the hockey for me when the 86-87 Flyers lost to the. I never got over the hump with my Flyers teams. I remember they lost Game 7 in Edmonton in 87, and I remember going into my mom's bedroom crying, and she was like, "Fuck out of here! You got school tomorrow." She was like, "What are you crying for?"
She's like,
she was sweet.
Still won the Conn Smythe.
Yes, that was amazing, dude. I still watch just around every fall. I watch Blood, Sweat, and Tears, the Flyers highlight video from that season. All right, look, we got JT the Brick tomorrow. He's going to talk to us all about the LA Raiders. We're going to be live. We're going to be in Provo. The show will start. Cameron, listen to this. It's going to start at 8:15. It's going to start at 9:15. 9:15 Central. Okay? The show will begin at 9:15 Central. All right? Everybody good with that? Good. And then we will go into let me think this out now. This is so funny with time zones and stuff. So 9:15 Central will be maybe Cam, come up here, help me out. Let's just figure this out. I'm over here counting my hands.
Help.
So JT the Brick is going to join us tomorrow at 8:30 Pacific time, okay? Which is 9:30 Mountain Time and is 10:30 Central. So, okay, that's fine. We're just going to end the show right after the JT the Brick interview. We're going to have him for 20 minutes, and after that, we'll be out of here. So it'll just be a regular show, okay?
Regular show. Yep.
Okay. All right, perfect. Everybody good? We're good.
Great.
Yeah, I just wanted to work with JT because I've always been a fan of JT. JT the Brick is he's one of the most talented national radio guys you can have you can be fortunate enough to hear. And he worked for this there was a big radio network out of Vegas, and he was like the biggest part of it. And it was when Gruden was with the first time he was with the Raiders, and the Raiders should have gone to the Super Bowl. They lost to the Ravens, but he was like it was JT's like black hole. He was that guy. Like, he was big into Oakland. He still works for the Raiders now. I think he does their preseason games, and I think he does some sideline reporting for the team in season on the radio broadcast. So he's a legend. I cannot wait to talk with JT the Brick. And he's got a real close relationship with Visser. I think he's another guy that Visser, who can always spot the cat in the tree. He's another guy that Visser found. So we're just happy to be a part of the Visser tree right now. All right, we'll do it tomorrow, Cam, right?
Sounds great.
Thanks so much. All right, we'll see you guys tomorrow.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Show. Sports.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at 70 miles an hour. I was injured, had a concussion. The insurance company, they delayed. They were playing games from the initial conversation. They weren't going to help me. The biggest thing I learned through this is that you can't go through this alone. I called Daniel Stark. They were going to help me, and everything was going to be all right. Daniel Stark got me 10 times the insurance company offered.
The difference is stark.
Show. Sports.
Our professionals are not only experts in managing urgent concerns, but also in providing top-notch preventative health care. We're proud to connect pet owners to a vast network of licensed veterinary professionals, ready to address any immediate concerns. Book your first appointment today.
Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. NALGENE.com. We are Rogue Media Sports.